There is a place on this planet where your next breath could freeze inside your lungs, where stepping outside for 15 minutes can destroy living tissue, where the air itself sounds like it is breaking, a faint crackling, like crushed glass, as the moisture leaving your body crystallizes before it reaches the ground. This is a village where temperatures plunge to -71 degrees Celsius, and people choose to live here. To reach this village, you would fly 7 hours east from Moscow to the city of Yakutsk, deep in Siberia's Republic of Sakha. From there, an 18-hour drive across 900 kilometers of frozen highway. A road so dangerous it has claimed dozens of lives. At the end of that road sits a settlement of 800 people, a place called Oymyakon. It holds the record for the lowest temperature ever recorded in a permanently inhabited settlement, -71.2 degrees Celsius. At that temperature, boiling water thrown into the air freezes before it touches the ground. Exposed skin develops frostbite in under 2 minutes, and simply walking outside becomes a calculated risk. Here is the first rule of Oymyakon: you do not go outside unprepared. Residents layer themselves in more than 20 garments before stepping through the door. Gloves, boots, trousers, and a full-length coat, all made from reindeer hide. The total weight approaches 14 kilograms. You are wearing armor against the cold, and even then, it is not always enough. Every structure in this village is an engineering response to the permafrost, a layer of permanently frozen earth that extends hundreds of meters deep and never thaws. Buildings cannot sit directly on this ground. Thick wooden beams create a raised foundation. The walls contain 7 separate layers: exterior timber, basalt wool, plaster mesh, foam insulation, a second plaster layer, and interior wooden panels. Windows are triple glazed. Attics are packed with sawdust and soil. All of this just to keep the inside temperature above freezing. A single coal-powered boiler at the village center pushes heated water through pipes to every home. This system runs without pause. One of the cleverest adaptations is the entrance room, deliberately left unheated. It serves as a thermal buffer between the lethal cold outside and the warmth of the living quarters, but it also functions as a natural refrigerator. Frozen milk, slabs of horse meat, fish, stored right at the front door. No electricity needed. The ceilings in these rooms are coated in frost. Ice crystals cling to the walls. It looks like the inside of a freezer, because that is exactly what it is. Water pipes do not exist here. Any water inside a pipe would freeze solid within minutes. Instead, residents harvest blocks of ice from the river the same way their ancestors did. Using a chisel, they cut through the frozen surface, carving heavy rectangular blocks. These are loaded onto sleds and hauled back to the village. At home, the ice goes into barrels near the stove and melts slowly. This becomes their drinking water, their bathing water, their cooking water. A family's supply, maybe a dozen blocks, lasts 2 to 3 weeks. Then the process starts again. Before dawn, while the sky is still black, the farmers are already working. The cattle here, a local Yakut breed, produce milk with a fat content of 7 to 8%, richer than almost anything the rest of the world has tasted. But keeping them alive demands constant vigilance. Their udders are wrapped in cloth to protect the tissue from frostbite. Every morning, the cows must leave the barn and walk to the river to drink. They move quickly. They know the moment they step outside, their hair begins to crystallize with ice. One by one, they reach an unfrozen section, kept flowing by underground spring water, drink what they need, and hurry back. And then there are the horses. The Yakutian horse is one of the most cold-adapted large animals on Earth. Short, stocky, and covered in fur so thick they appear almost spherical. Their hooves grow unusually tall, a natural adaptation that lifts them further from the frozen ground. They do not need shelter. They survive outdoors through the entire winter, day and night, in temperatures reaching -70. They paw through snow to graze on frozen grass beneath the surface. For the people here, these horses are everything. Horse meat, rich in fat and vitamins, is one of the only sources of nutrition through winter. Eaten raw and frozen, sliced paper thin. In a place where no fruit or vegetable will grow, this meat keeps people alive. Beyond the village center, past the frozen tree line, the forest belongs to the hunters. For the men who live at the edge of this settlement, the forest is not wilderness. It is a library. Fresh snowfall is a blank page. Every track, every frozen droplet, every broken twig tells a story. The hunter moves through waist-deep snow, checking traps set along animal paths. When an animal is caught and cannot move, the cold finishes the work. At these temperatures, stillness is death. This is not a metaphor. It is physics. A body that stops generating heat through movement will freeze. The same law that threatens every person who steps outside. Keep moving, or become part part of the ice. At his camp in the forest, the hunter builds a fire inside a small tent. The warmth is immediate but fragile. Step beyond the tent flap and the cold reclaims everything. He checks a fishing net beneath the river ice. The hole must be recut each time. Ice grows back within hours. When the fish are pulled from the water, they remain alive for only a few seconds. The thermal shock kills them almost instantly. Within a minute, they are frozen solid. He slices the fish thin, eats it raw and frozen with salt. In a place without grocery stores, without farms, without supply chains, this is how vitamins enter the body. Morning comes at 7:30. The sky is still pitch black. In January, this village receives barely 4.5 hours of daylight. Inside the home, children wake to warmth. They wash their faces from an indoor water tank. They brush their teeth. Small rituals that feel ordinary but exist within extraordinary conditions. To leave for school, the children are dressed in layer after layer. Their mother wraps thick wool around their faces until only their eyes are visible. The walk is half a kilometer. Their father walks them every morning. School remains open unless the temperature drops below -55. Today it is -51. The children walk. There is one aspect of daily life here that no amount of engineering has solved gracefully. There are no indoor toilets, no sewage system. Outhouses sit in the yards behind each home, unheated wooden cabins exposed to the full force of the cold. To use one, you first put on your full outdoor clothing. Then you move quickly. Waste freezes the moment it is exposed to the air. Over winter, it accumulates into solid frozen columns, sometimes reaching a meter in height. Bathing here is not a daily convenience. It is a weekly event that takes 4 to 5 hours from start to finish. It begins with chopping firewood, then hauling ice blocks inside to melt. A small wooden bathhouse is heated until the interior reaches 60 degrees Celsius. They wash using ladles, pouring warm water over themselves. Frozen shampoo bottles are thawed by the stove. And then comes the test. You step from the bathhouse, 60 degrees of steam, directly into -54. A temperature swing of 114 degrees, in a single step. They dress quickly. There is no alternative. Even machines surrender here. If a vehicle is left outside without the engine running for more than a few hours, it freezes completely. The diesel solidifies. The battery dies. The oil becomes sludge. The tires go flat, not from leaks, but because cold causes air molecules to contract so severely that the rubber loses all pressure and becomes rigid, like stone. To revive a frozen vehicle, residents place a jet heater underneath and wrap the undercarriage in tarps to trap warmth. This takes 3 to 4 hours. Even then, no guarantees. Those with heated garages, insulated from floor to ceiling, connected to the village heating system, can avoid this entirely. Inside these garages, there is not a single open space. Every vehicle that has shelter is using it. What strikes you about this place is not the suffering. It is the absence of complaint. The people of Oymyakon do not fight the cold. They have never tried to conquer it. For generations, guided by shamanic tradition and a deep spiritual bond with the land, they have chosen a different path. Coexistence. They read the forest like a language. They respect the animals they depend on. They share ice blocks with their neighbors. They walk their children to school in darkness at 51 below zero and do it again the next morning. The temperature here does not rise. Even the cruelest winters are met not with fear but with ritual, and the unshakable belief that nature gives as much as it takes. This is not just survival. This is the oldest agreement between humans and the earth. And in Oymyakon, it still holds.